Bad news for Mac gamers. This is a tough one for us, especially if you've been relying on Whisky to run Windows games. A few days ago, a pretty significant announcement dropped. Whisky is no longer being actively maintained. No more updates, and no new support for future macOS versions except for OS updates that fundamentally break the app. Now, if you're not familiar with Whisky, it's essentially a free, lightweight alternative to CrossOver. It uses an older version of Wine and doesn't support as many games, but it's been a solid option for Mac users trying to get by without spending money. The developer behind it, Isaac, recently posted a detailed update explaining why development is stopping. I'm going to read that post word for word, then after I'll share my own take and why I think this is actually a good thing for Mac gaming in the long run. Also, I'll leave this linked in the description. Maintenance notice. Note: Whisky is no longer actively maintained. Whisky Wine will no longer be receiving any further updates. We will not be upgrading to Wine 8 Plus, and fixes for specific apps and games like Steam will not be produced. Occasional updates may still come if macOS fundamentally breaks the main app, as it did in 15.4. How do I play my games then? If Whisky is no longer cutting it for your needs, buy CrossOver. A lot of people are confused about CrossOver's pricing. It's not a subscription, it's a license. You can continue to use the version you purchased forever. If you don't need to upgrade, you don't have to. It costs less to upgrade your license to a new version than it does to buy a license up front, so you will not be paying $74 every year. There are frequent sales and discount codes available if you wait. Why are you no longer updating it? I have received many questions on this decision, but it continues to be asked, so I figured it was time to update both the repository and the website to state this explicitly. 1. I lost interest in the project. Running it is incredibly time consuming, and as I'm still a student and also not being paid for work on Whisky, it becomes hard to justify working on it if I no longer enjoy it. 2. Whisky, in my opinion, has not been a positive on the wine community as a whole. My original goal for the project was to be engine agnostic, simply serve as a front end for wine, and not provide a bundled version itself. That all changed when GPTK came out at WWDC, so right out of the gate, the goals of the project were pretty muddied. Developing wine is hard. The codebase is exclusively written in C for maximum portability, but that also places a rather high barrier to entry for those looking to contribute, not to mention the reverse engineering skills required to debug malfunctioning apps and games. A lot of incredibly talented people spend a lot of time working on it, but for a project like Wine, you need people working on it full time. Wine is one of the few projects that actually has sizable funding behind it. Valve has invested a lot into the project, as it is the backbone of Proton, on which their whole gaming on Linux and Steam Deck strategy is based. The problem is macOS is not Linux, and it poses significant challenges that are unique to it over any other Unix operating system. Fixes for macOS have to come from people who are not only incredibly knowledgeable on C, Wine, Windows, but also macOS. As you can imagine, the pool of developers with those skills is very limited. That is where CrossOver and CodeWeavers come in. Without CodeWeavers, there would be no Wine on Mac. There would be no GPTK. Hell, even Rosetta would likely be more restricted, as many of the extensions added in recent months were only added due to pressure from Mac gamers. The revenue from CrossOver is what keeps Wine on Mac alive. By contrast, Whisky is based on CrossOver, but we don't produce any bespoke fixes. I, quite frankly, do not have the requisite skills or time to do so. As a result, the amount that Whisky as a whole contributes to Wine is practically zero. This is not a fair trade, and continuing this parasitic relationship could easily harm CrossOver's continued profitability and the existence of Wine on Mac as a whole. TLDR, Whisky harms Wine on Mac. What's the real reason? That's it. That's the real reason. I do not work for CrossOver. I receive no payment from them, aside from a small commission from CrossOver sales using my affiliate link, which is small and infrequent. There's no conspiracy, it's simply just not the right thing to do. Whisky was certainly a big undertaking, and what will probably be the most widely used solo project of my life, so I don't take this decision lightly. What's next? Those who know me know I've already moved on to several other projects. Most recently, I've been helping out with porting Sonic Unleashed Recompiled to macOS and Metal. I will continue to do cool stuff in the Mac space, but just not this. If you want to find me, best places are my Blue Sky and my GitHub. If you got this far, thank you for reading, Isaac. Again, I'll leave everything linked in the description so you can check out his Blue Sky and GitHub links. So what does this mean for Mac gamers? Honestly, I think it's a good thing in the long run. Yeah, Whisky was great, and it's still solid for a bunch of games. You can check out the compatibility list yourself right here. The UI is clean, it's free, and the barrier to entry was super low. I actually used Whisky myself for about a year before I finally got CrossOver. But here's the thing, CrossOver CrossOver is the backbone and lifeblood of Mac gaming right now. Like Isaac said, there's really nothing else, at least that I know of, driving actual progress the way CodeWeavers is. And now that Whisky isn't being updated, the difference in compatibility between it and CrossOver is only going to grow. Eventually, more people are going to start turning to CrossOver, not just because they have to, but because it's becoming the better long-term option. And I think that's actually good. More CrossOver users means more visibility, more support, and more incentive to push Mac gaming forward. Honestly, this shift was kind of inevitable anyway, especially with CrossOver 25 now running games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Dragon's Dogma 2. It's just in a really good spot right now. Now I do get it, CrossOver isn't cheap and not everyone can afford it. I've been in that spot too, which is exactly why I used Whisky at first. But let's also be real, gaming is a luxury and so are Macs. Unless you won yours in a giveaway or got it as a gift, chances are you've already made a big investment. And I don't think it's about people not being able to afford CrossOver, it's more that they're unsure of if it's worth it or not, especially with the way it's marketed. Like Isaac said, a lot of people assume it's a subscription model, but it's not. You pay once and keep it, plus a year's worth of updates. Further updates are optional and often discounted. Plus, the barrier to entry to try it out is basically zero. There's a 2-week free trial, and if you combine that with Steam's refund policy of, I believe, under 2 hours played and under 2 weeks owned, you could literally test any game out for free. And listen, if money is really tight, you could even just keep using the trial. Make a new account every time. I'm not saying that's ideal, but hey, I get it. Bottom line, it sucks to see Isaac step away. Whisky filled a gap when Mac gaming had even fewer options, and it helped a lot of people, myself included. So huge shout out to him for what he's done. I wish him the best on his next ventures, and thank you to him for his contributions to Mac gaming. If you want to dive deeper into what CrossOver 25 brings to the table, I've got a full video linked in the description. I also have a step-by-step guide on how to install CrossOver in Steam if you're new to this. Let me know what you think of the news in the comments. Do you agree with my take? Do you see this as a positive step, or are you worried about losing free options? If you found this helpful, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more Mac gaming news and tutorials, and the occasional opinion. And if you're into gaming in general, I've got a second channel, Relic Gaming, where I cover that side of things too. And that's about it. See ya.